Ladies and gentlemen, Psalms 34 verses 6 and 7 says, "This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps round about them that fear him, and delivers them." Here are the results for the weekend fights. So, Daniel Jacobs, he beat Luis Arias. Liam Smith, he beat Liam Williams. Then we had Jarrell Miller, he beat Marius Walk, causing him at least causing the doctors to throw in the towel. Arthur Bitabiev, he beat Errico Colling, stopping him, I think, in 3 rounds. And Josh Taylor actually stopped Miguel Vasquez in round 9. So all my predictions were correct. Let's get into some of the details. So with Daniel Jacobs versus Luis Arias, people don't know, but Luis Arias, that's the most amount of rounds he's ever gone in a fight. In fact, this is his first 12-rounder. So he had a huge step up against Daniel Jacobs. And Luis Arias basically did the same thing, like, say, for instance, the younger fighters like Erickson Lubin, he stepped up to face Jermell Charlo. We had J-Rock stepping up to face Jamal Charlo. We had that young Philadelphian fighter stepping up to face Gilberto Ramirez. So these guys, they took some tough fights. Luis Arias, probably the best performer of them all, because he actually went the full 12 rounds. He said himself that he went into survival mode after round 4 because he had blistered his toe and it was really hurting him. So that's his excuse. I think it wouldn't have made a difference if his toe was blistered or not, because Danny Jacobs basically fought him in the trenches, fought him up close, and was outboxing him, even on the inside. So that's just how much Jacobs was superior to him. But he did show underrated defense in that fight, and I thought that was a really interesting thing. Jacobs walking him down, and he was able to block and roll and bob and weave from certain punches, which I thought was really exceptionally good, especially when Jacobs went head hunting for a good amount of time in the fight instead of trying to go to the body. So I got to say that Luis Arias, he handled himself. He was able to make it through 12 rounds. Kudos to him. That's a nice learning experience for him, and he said so. And so he could take that with him into the next couple of fights that he has. Now let's talk about Jarrell Miller versus Marius Walk. Jarrell Miller has he's a skilled fighter. I'll give you that. He's not the most agile fighter out there, but his weight is tremendous. He's goes in near to 300 pounds almost every fight. So I was right. He is a kind of like a butter bean kind of guy. He uses his weight to his advantage and the baby rolls to absorb punishment to the body. Marius Walk, like I said, he's a boxer type. So Jarrell Miller, he was bringing the heat to him, like I said. And he actually got a stoppage on him. He got a stoppage where the doctors called in the towel Marius Walk. Marius Walk basically won no rounds of that fight. It was a one-sided fight. Jarrell Miller is an inside fighter. He has skills such as switch hitting. He can shift stance. He punches, always using different head slots. So he always moves his head, which means he slips punches, he rolls punches, he bobs and weaves from punches, he dips from punches. And all of these things are good. He doesn't move his feet while he's dipping or rolling, whatever. So that's not a good thing, because you can, if you know how to pivot, you can go to his body very easily. But he keeps coming, though. He keeps coming. Even when you land your best shots on him, especially headshots. If you go to body shots, that's a different story. But if you land headshots on him continuously, he walks through those things. And one of the nice things about him is he also rides punches, so that if you punch him to the head, he knows how to roll his head with the punch to take the steam off the punch, and he can keep coming. So he's got a lot of very interesting assets to him. He's got pretty good defense. He blocks punches. Like I said, he goes with the punch, take the steam off the punch. Now, Marius Walk is not known as a power puncher, but what I will say, though, what he brings to the table is a lot of skill. He does many different things which are very interesting, but he's not athletic. He's agile to some degree, but he's not athletic. I'd love to see Bermain Severn versus him. Joseph Parker versus him. Joseph Parker faced a fighter something like him, but not as skilled, but yet with a little bit more agility in I think it's Andrew Ruiz or Andy Ruiz, I think it was the name. And he was able to outbox him and get his points decision. I would like to see what an athletic fighter can do against a guy like Jarrell Miller. But he's still learning. That's his best competition there, Marius Wack. He did do very well against Gerald Washington, who's an athletic fighter, kind of. He's a big guy. And he was able to really beat up Gerald Washington. He stopped him, but he was pretty much putting a beating on him. Jarrell Miller doesn't really have that knockout power, knockout punch. He has relentless pressure, and he's be able to be effective at getting to the inside of a fighter and making them fight all 12 rounds. If he goes 12 rounds with you, all 12 rounds. I don't think he's ever gone 12 rounds, so that's another downside to him. I don't think he'll survive against a Deontay Wilder, who knows how to pivot and how to box and how to stick and how to time. Even when Miller's doing these different head slots that he's doing, his body's stationary. What I mean by that is, you want to get your whole entire body out the way. He's good at slipping punches and stuff. He reminds me a little bit of that Philly fighter who faced Vladimir Klitschko. He's got a nice upper body movement, but doesn't move his feet a whole lot. And he doesn't really use pivots. He stays frozen in space while he's bobbing and weaving and dipping. So that can lead to some really disastrous things with really good elite boxers who can, they can change the angles up on you and walk you into stuff. He's big, so he can take a lot of punishment. But anyway, that's a whole other story for another day. But Jarrell Miller, he impressed me against Marius Wack, and also when I went and looked at his fight against Gerald Washington, he impressed me some. So I understand why some people think that Jarrell Miller, he could actually beat Joseph Parker, even though Joseph Parker's faced something like him already, and he was able to make it through 12 rounds. So we'll see. Liam Smith beat Liam Williams as I expected. This fight went a full 12 rounds, and Liam Smith was the better boxer as I expected. Again, even though you're talking about fights, you have to understand that it's all about experience, and your experience you gather from facing better and better competition. All right. Artur Beterbiev rolled through Enrico Coiling. That was a fight that actually was a top-ranked fight, so he's probably a top-ranked fighter now. I don't know what happened with Amir Imam. I never talked about that, but I would like to know what happened with him and Johnny Garcia. And Josh Taylor emphatically beat Miguel Vasquez, stopping him in the 9th round. Miguel Vasquez just totally getting beaten up by Josh Taylor. He was dropped and he was beaten up. So I gotta say, Josh Taylor won that fight hands down. Kudos to him on that one. I did pick him to win, but I thought Miguel Vasquez probably would outbox him, but he would still get the decision in Scotland. It was not the case at all. He literally took the fight from Miguel Vasquez. So there are my predictions for the fights. 100% correct about every single fight that I predicted. But what I really wanted to say to you guys is, when you know boxing, when you understand boxing, you're able to make better predictions and based on boxing. Okay? And like I said to you, an undefeated fighter doesn't mean much. What matters in boxing is that you have people who are ready for the next level. And you can see that in their abilities, in their skills, not in hype, in their abilities and their skills. You can also see it in a level of opposition and experience they have to be able to face that challenge. Not every boxer can do what Floyd Mayweather did, where he faced Tony Pep and then he faced Gennaro Hernandez. And even when he faced Tony Pep, it was a preparation for Gennaro Hernandez, because Tony Pep was a long, rangy fighter who could do various things. He could box on the inside, box on the outside. So it was still a prep for Floyd, for Gennaro Hernandez. And a lot of these boxers, they're taking these big step-ups, but they're risking losing, I guess, to get that experience. But the danger in that is, if you're badly hurt or you get dropped or you get stopped, and now people see holes in your game and they try to implement the same thing against you, that's the downside to it. So unless you adjust it and learn from that experience and modify your game, but you can get badly hurt if you're stepped up too rapidly. And I think a lot of these fighters, some of them are really, they're getting badly injured, and as much as they say there's a learning experience to get dropped, you get dropped in sparring and all of that, even though they may be used to that or they've seen that before, it's happened to them but not on the big stage. It gives other savvy boxers They keep that in the back of their mind. Okay, defensively, this guy, he has a flaw here. Or if I do certain things to him, he may do this. He may improve as a fighter and actually deal with his flaw, or he may not. So it's just, because people look to exploit you once they realize, oh, this guy had success with you. That's why Floyd Mayweather sometimes says, if you had a loss on your record, 5 losses on your record, you ain't beating me. Because we know somebody beat you already, and I'm going to find a way to beat you. So it's a mental advantage sometimes. It's a physical advantage sometimes. It's an intelligence advantage sometimes. And remember, boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. You got to understand that. It's bougie, yet it's bad. And a lot of people just don't understand these things. It's not just people going in there and whacking each other's heads off. There's a lot of skill and technique, not just talent in there. It's just not about your natural God-given ability. It's about learning things to be able to deal with the guys. It's angles. It's how to block this punch, how to neutralize this movement, how to neutralize this attack, or neutralize this movement that will negate you landing a punch or whatever. It's a lot of technical stuff goes on in boxing, and then you have to perfect those technical things. You may have a knowledge of this is what this guy is doing and this is what this guy is doing. I know because I've been in martial arts, and in martial arts there's a lot of repetition and there's a lot of perfection of different things and techniques. It's not, boxing's a doing sport. It's not just about knowing, okay, if I did this, this would happen. It's about executing it as well, which was what makes boxing so difficult. So I thought I would share that with you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Some people are trying to argue with me. I don't have time all day to do that, man. I gotta make money. I gotta do what I gotta do. So if you guys want to argue all day, especially when your arguments are nonsensical and stupid, I'm just gonna block you. You're gonna get blocked from my channel, and you will not. I'm sorry. This is what I gotta do, because look, man, I gotta move on. I can't be arguing with people all day about some nonsensical issues that really don't make any sense. Alright, so Gangster003, you're blocked from my channel. You're going to listen to this video and you're going to realize that you're blocked. And you're not blocked because I can't answer or respond to you, but I actually answered and responded to you a long time ago about the issue that you're talking about with. Man, subscribers, leave your comments in the comment section below on this. Okay, my subscribers, I want your comments on this, your feedback. A guy is making a very stupid statement that the best boxer of all time must be the best heavyweight because nobody in lower weight classes could beat him or her. Or I guess him. We're talking he. Right? And that's a stupid statement because it's based on, this guy is basing his statement on size. Because heavyweights are longer, taller, and bigger than other guys, he's assuming that the best heavyweight has to be the best boxer in the world because nobody could beat the best heavyweight. But I have shown him time and time again, guys coming up from lower weight divisions, especially, regardless of time, because the heavyweight division was known as the heavyweight division with different weight ranges, okay? Back in the day, it was anything above 175 pounds was a heavyweight, more or less. And if you had a non-title fight, sometimes they're a little bit above 175 pounds. Sometimes they go as much as 180, 84 pounds, okay? But there was no cruiserweight division. So this guy, he's arguing that nobody from a weight class below could beat a heavyweight, the best heavyweight. And I'm trying to show him that in history, this has happened multiple times. Michael Spinks versus Larry Holmes. Michael Spinks came up from light heavyweight, and he beat Larry Holmes. He was just a blown-up light heavyweight when he fought Larry Holmes. Okay? He made weight to be in the heavyweight division, but he was basically a light heavyweight. I showed them, and I'm talking about light heavyweight. We're not talking cruiserweight now. I talked about Evander Holyfield. I talked about Leon Spinks beating Muhammad Ali. All of these guys are not heavyweights. And he was arguing that the modern definition is over 200 pounds. That's the real heavyweight. But yet he turns around and talks about how Leon Spinks was a heavyweight back in the day. I mean, I don't know what his argument is, but here's the thing. My point is this. We had Ezra Charles, who literally fought a lightweight at 181 3/4 pounds. He was a lightweight. He fought a lightweight in Joey Maxim. Joey Maxim goes on to become the light heavyweight. Sorry, he fought the light heavyweight. And Joey Maxim goes on to become the light heavyweight champion of the world. Okay? He goes on, the same weight, he goes and fights Jersey Joe Walcott, who's a heavyweight, beats Jersey Joe Walker. Basically, this guy fights a heavyweight while he's still at lightweight weight. If heavyweights, the best heavyweight in the world, because at the time Jersey Joe Walker obviously was the best heavyweight in the world because, you know, he had the title, but if the best heavyweight in the world is getting beaten by a light heavyweight, essentially, yeah, the light heavyweight gets the heavyweight title, and he defends it successfully a number of times. Even when he was, I think one time he was 177 pounds actually, defending the heavyweight title, okay? But even so, if a light heavyweight could come up and beat a heavyweight, and we've seen in lower weight classes, guys come up from much lower weight classes and beat guys much bigger than them. Henry Armstrong is a perfect example. He went up to 3 weight classes and beat guys bigger than him. Okay, we've seen Floyd Mayweather do it. We've seen Oscar De La Hoya do it. We see Shane Mosley do it. Shane Mosley effectively was a lightweight fighting a welterweight. He jumped all the way up from lightweight. Yes, he had put on mass, but he's a lightweight. He's used to lightweight hitting him. He's used to lightweight fighting. He's a lightweight. He's a blown up lightweight. He's a lightweight fighting a welterweight. You know, we've seen it time and time again. Guys come up from lower weight divisions and fight guys at the bigger weight. Now you tell me the best heavyweight, because he's longer, maybe taller, maybe heavier, he gonna beat somebody smaller than him? What are you going on to do that? You have to look at the skills, the abilities of fighters, and of course the intangibles of the fighters to see if that is true. It's not just dimensions. Many times you hear people say weight in boxing don't mean much. There's a saying in boxing that a good big fighter beats a good small fighter. That's not necessarily true, because you got to ask yourself, what do you mean by good? If a big, long, tall, strong fighter, the best in his division, let's say he's heavyweight, faces up with a smaller guy, but the smaller guy got the skill sets to offset the size, the height, and the reach of the bigger fighter. Maybe he won't knock him out, but he can therefore, because he offsets it, beat the bigger guy because he got skills and abilities which can offset the size, the reach, and the height. My point being very simple, that you can't just say that because a guy is bigger, longer, and stronger, and he's good, means that the smaller guy who's good is going to lose to him. If that's the case, then we should have seen Canelo Alvarez lose to Triple G. The official result is a draw. Triple G is a career middleweight. Canelo came up all the way from welterweight into super welterweight and then became a middleweight. Say what you want about Canelo. He hasn't campaigned at middleweight. He's not been hit by middleweights in professional fights all his career. So he's the smaller dude. And see how he handled himself. The reason Triple G couldn't land shots on Canelo, and Canelo was landing shots on Triple G, is because Canelo has specific skills that allow him to do those things. And everybody would agree with me that if Canelo didn't slow down his tempo, and if he didn't, if his foot conditioning was better in the fight, he'd have beat Triple G going hands down. He'd have just blown through him. This wouldn't be a discussion right now, because skills and abilities of a fighter and the intangibles you must consider. That is why we have what is called pound for pound. Pound for pound. They said pound for pound because they're talking about regardless of weight class. We have to look at who is the best fighter out there. And the best fighter out there, that's how pound for pound came to be. Guys talking about it's theoretical and all of that. Look. The point behind pound for pound. I'm not talking about how it's assessed. The point behind pound for pound is we're looking for the guy who exhibits the best skills, the best abilities in boxing. Sugar Ray Robinson is considered pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, while we had people like Henry Armstrong still there, while we had people like Rocky Marciano still around. Sugar Ray Robinson was considered the best pound for pound fighter. Okay? And the reason that was, it wasn't Rocky Marciano was considered that, is because Sugar Ray Robinson exhibited skills and abilities that very few boxers had. So to show the skills and abilities and showcase it, we had pound for pound. The best boxer ever is the same thing. It is not respective of weight class. because we want to display the skills and abilities and the intangibles of a fighter, regardless of size. All right? When we talk martial arts, for instance, or any kind of competition, the best martial artist doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest martial artist. Even though we have different weight classes in martial arts, we're looking at technique and skill. You have seen in martial arts, I've seen in martial arts at least, that not the most ripped and strong people are yet necessarily the most devastating. Right now, the superstar in martial arts is Jet Li. Jet Li is not the biggest, strongest dude out there, but he knows things and has skills and abilities to take out the biggest, strongest guys out there because of skills, ability, knowledge, technique, and the intangibles. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in power, in knockouts. I hear this so many times. And it really is, to me, a discouraging, disgusting thing when people don't know what combat is about. If you look at the modern wars today, very little of these modern wars is about power and glory and might. Vietnam, the Vietnamese beat the powerful United States of America with all their bombs and everything, with their carpet bombs and everything, with sticks and skills. They use their minds against them. When you're waging a battle against an enemy, it's more a cerebral battle than it is a physical battle. And this is how life is. Life is more about cerebral battles than they are physical battles. And it's not necessarily against people, it's against things, depression, etc. Alright, so I wanted to share this video with you guys before I go on with my day. Let me just repeat the scripture. Psalms 34, 6 and 7 says, "The poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles." Like I said, the battles are not necessarily physical battles. Most of the time, our battles are not against people. They're actually against ourselves and qualities and natures of ourselves. And even when these boxers are fighting in the ring, the person, their opponent that they're facing, is actually pushing them to be better. Competition sometimes pushes you to be a better person yourself. Some people are vicious and they just want to kill the other person on the other side of the ring. Fine. But there are a lot of other boxers who say, well, bring out the best in me. This is a competition where I face you. Yes, it's the hurt business. So I'm there to hurt you. But sometimes it's also about how much better I am in myself. Can I push myself further? Will you push me further? I always heard Floyd Mayweather. I always go back to Floyd Mayweather. He said, I'm hoping that Manny Pacquiao will push me to have to use other gears, to have to use other things, to see how far I can go. And the point behind it is, all sports and competition, boxing is not really a sport. It's a blood sport, but you don't play boxing, okay? But all sports and competition, some guys got mean streaks in them. And Floyd got a mean streak too, but he doesn't use it that often. He has the skills to be able to win without even having to use a real mean streak. He can turn it on, turn it off. He can switch it up. And Floyd is so complex in the sense that he can outthink you. He can outfox you. And if he wants to, he can beat you up. If he has to go dog style, he will go dogging you, So Floyd had that ability to do so many different things in the ring that, he had immense ability. And that's different. Okay? But he's very, very competitive. When you look at some other boxers, they got that mean streak in them. They got that, I want to hurt you. I want to kill you. I want to destroy you. Okay? Floyd was like that in the beginning of his career, but later on in his career, he cared about boxers so much that he didn't want to just knock out a guy and put him out of his misery. Besides that, he said, you know what? I don't need to box hard. I need to box smart. So he's more of a smart boxer. He would prefer if a boxer lived to see another day. If he had to take them out of misery because they were really coming hard at him, he'd take them out of misery and knock them out, But Floyd was always a guy that seemed to me to always care about the boxers. Even with Conor McGregor. I mean, he punished Conor McGregor. And he punished him, okay? But even with Conor McGregor, you could see that Floyd is a guy who doesn't always go for the kill. He went for the kill with Conor McGregor, no doubt. But he's not always a guy that go for the kill straight through. He's not going to just try and destroy you and wreck Conor McGregor's career. So you'd hear Floyd say, Conor McGregor, he got a career. You'd hear him say that after the fight. He had a career, so I'm glad the referee stepped in. I mean, you know Floyd was going to keep on pounding him. He was going to keep on pounding him and probably hurt him really, really, really bad. But you can tell Floyd, sometimes he looks to the referee like, ref, you know, you need to step in here because this guy, I'm going to kill him, you know. And Floyd's not that kind of guy. You can tell that he does not want to kill a boxer in the ring. You're Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, he's talking about bodying a guy and killing him in the ring. Like, he really, but again, he has a lot to prove. So Deontay Wilder, at this point in the game, he's thinking to kill somebody. But with, as you get older and you start to mellow out and you're still at the top of the mountain, you're still at the top of the heap, you know, and you get all that experience, you mellow out some, you know, because I beat up everybody. I beat everybody. I don't have to prove nothing no more. I'm hungry still, but I don't have to kill nobody in the ring, and I don't want to kill anybody. I remember Sugar Ray Robinson talking about he did not want to kill Bobby Dykes in the ring. You know, he didn't want to kill him, and he saw that he might kill him, and he ended up killing the dude, and it affected him some. But he went back to the business and be professional and just did his job. And he talked about how much he didn't really like boxing like that anymore. And it's strange that you hear Sugar Ray Robinson say that. You heard Floyd Mayweather say that. My point being, anyway, this, because I gotta go. My point is this: boxing's not a sport where we're trying to. Where a lot of people don't understand. When you've been hitting people for a living and you've been hit for a living, you're not somebody who necessarily is trying to kill somebody. I mean, when you sparring and stuff, there are guys who are coming out trying to kill you. But when you know, all right, let me put it to you this way: if you ever seen a martial artist, my sensei, for instance, my sensei knows how to kill. He knew how to kill people 100 million different ways. So his thing wasn't, he knew how to kill somebody. So the thing was discipline, how to control yourself to neutralize your opponent while not killing them and not necessarily inflicting the most amount of damage. For him, it was all about the discipline. I liked that. You know, I know things where I can hurt people really, 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 really bad. Real easy. It's real easy to hurt somebody very, very bad. Especially somebody who's hot-headed and they don't really understand what fighting is about. So, it's easy to hurt somebody really, really bad. People think you have to use a lot of force. No, you just have to redirect force. You see what I'm saying? You don't even have to be the strongest person. You could be a weak person. But here's the thing. The thing about it is, it's not about hurting someone. If your objective is just simply to neutralize them and make sure they don't do a certain thing ever again, you just do that. You can mentally get into somebody's head real easy. Real easy. I can make a guy spin around, you know, and if I want to, I can make him spin all the way around, right? Leap up in the air, and I'm controlling him just by his hand. I'm just using his hand and controlling him. He's just flopping all around. And after I straightened him out, I didn't make him slam into walls. I didn't make him hit the ground. I didn't make him bust his head open. I didn't make him punch himself. None of that. I just manipulated his wrist. And by manipulating his wrist, he's moving all around the place, doing all kinds of crazy things. And he's not in control of his body no more. Right? And then when I'm ready, I pin him to the ground, and I put him in a very painful position. I lock his hand in a particular position. So he's in great pain. I don't have to hit him once. He doesn't have to make contact with nothing. He doesn't have to hit anything. I just have him locked up. I just have his wrist locked a certain way. And people don't understand that could put the fear of God in someone. Because they realize I'm big, I'm strong, and all my muscles, they don't work to do nothing to help me. And my point being this. A lot of people feel that it's all about physical imposing your will on someone, when mentally is more important to impose your will on someone. Because people take note of when you mentally impose yourself on someone. When you can get into somebody's head and make them see what you see, and make them realize the seriousness of the situation without having to throw a punch. That's important. That's powerful. I know guys, they never threw a punch at anyone. They didn't even touch nobody. They just talked to people and made them see the danger in making certain decisions. And that was all it was needed. Not a punch was thrown. Nothing happened. No aggression, no fight. You never had a fight. The fight ended before it even began. And that's the cool thing about it. It's mentally. Some people, they're not even fighters. They're not physical fighters. But they are imposing with their will because of the things they say and how they conduct themselves and how they do things. So I try to explain that to people. But a lot of people, they just don't understand this. You know, there's a lot to life that people need to learn. And there's a lot of hot-headed people out here. And the more hot-headed you are, is the easier you get defeated. You must be in control. You can't be angry at your opponent. You know, I heard the guys go into the boxing ring saying, I'm going to rip this opponent's head off and I'm going to do this. Maybe they were just in promotion. Maybe they were afraid. But remains to learn. I'm going to rip his head off. I'm going to beat you up. And he's punching bag for most of the fight. Didn't ever touch Deontay Wilder once. And Deontay Wilder was cool as a cucumber. But he meant everything he said. And that's the difference. Alright? So, there's a lot. Boxing's a discipline. If you're doing boxing or any martial arts, it's a discipline. You're not supposed to be indisciplined. You're not supposed to be hot-headed. You're not supposed to be able to person just want to go beat up people. You're disciplined. You're learning an art. You're learning a science to something. There's a reason why boxers, their hands are licensed weapons and they can't hit people. You hit people, you lose your boxing life. You could end up in prison. There's a reason why that's so. It's for you to be disciplined. Discipline your mind. A lot of these people come from very dangerous neighborhoods where people shoot people and kill people and all that kind of stuff. So they already had the mean streak in them. They just need to cultivate it and discipline themselves so they can actually make money off of what they do. Alright? Alright, you guys. You have a great one.